Welcome, everyone. This is Pastor Rich, and we are in our second episode of the overview of the Bible. Now, we left off with the flood. Now we are where Noah is now disembarking the ark on land. Okay, now we're going to discuss what happened after that. And remember, I must remind you that this is an overview. It's not an in-depth discussion of the entire Genesis. This is from Genesis chapter 11 to chapter 20. Now, the repopulation of the earth was done through Noah and his 3 sons and their wives. And obviously, it's the intermarriage between the offspring that leads to us today. Now, as a result of that, there was only one language. Remember, Noah and his own family, they spoke one particular language, which was prior to the flood. So when Adam and Eve first were created, obviously with the two, they spoke the same language and passed it on to their children, which leads to the Tower of Babel. Now, as mankind started to repopulate the earth, there came a point where they were becoming very wealthy and had great stature in thinking that they can be their own God. So they attempted to overthrow God, if such a thing could ever happen. And as a result, God came down and confused their language. That is where we get the babbling from, the term Babel. It originated from the scriptures as the Tower of Babel, where God confused their language, and they went off to their separate, let's say, region, and then as a result of that, language developed. Now, there's a modern day thing we can easily compare with is, let's say, for example, the United States. We speak English, and let's say one particular state or country, and you go from one end to the next, even though they're still speaking English, the pronunciation and the dialect, and they'll even use different words to convey the same message, and yet they're on the same continent. You see? So beyond that, I cannot explain to you other than it is God who created the multiple languages. So now after that, as time passed, there came a descendant of Noah, Abraham. Well, he was first known as Abram. Okay, and after God revealed himself, which is also, it says Lord, so we know it was Jesus himself who revealed himself in the spirit form before he came into the world as Jesus. Now, the promise was made to Abram that his seed will, save mankind. So because God told Abraham to pack up and go, Abraham obeyed. So it is written that Abraham believed God, and it was attributed to him as righteousness. You see, in obeying God is a demonstration of righteousness. It's simply just doing what God told you to do. We don't have to make it complicated. So, as a result of Abraham moving and with his family, then Lot, his nephew, and Lot lived in, let's say, another state, which was close enough. And where Lot lived, as mankind continued to populate, the sin nature obviously was still there. I won't get into the sins of after Noah and his family part. That's, you have to read the scriptures. Like I said, it's so much involved. I'm only picking a few things to cover these chapters. Now, in where Lot lived, there was Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, Abraham was visited by the angels that was announcing to Abraham of the promised seed through Abraham, his offspring that would save mankind. And as a result of that, the Sodomites, or the people from Gomorrah, saw the angels. And it's written that both young and old wanted to know these men carnally. But it was the men that wanted to know these male figures that were visiting Abraham. And as a result, Abraham refused and said, no, we're not going to do this terrible thing. And he even offered his daughters to them, but they refused. And God, through the angels, told Lot to depart from Sodom and Gomorrah, because he was going to destroy that city because of the corruption and the sinful lifestyle that they were living. Now, let me point this out. It is not because of the sin they committed. It is because of the sin that they wanted to continue committing. They had no desire of change. You see, that is the difference. Okay, for another sermon. This is the overview of the Bible. So as a result of that, Lot left. Now, the angels had to wait until Lot was safely departed from that area before they brought the fire and brimstone, which they said in the scriptures. So, as a result, Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed, and that is going to take us to the end of the second episode of Walking Ministries Online's podcast. And again, I'm new to it, so bear with me, and I'm sure that as time passes, I will become better at doing this podcast. So I'd like to thank everyone for listening. And I'm Pastor Rich, Walking Ministries Online, and I will see you soon.